I wonder if there's a YouTube channel that just streams paint drying on a wall 24/7. If there is such a channel, the weirdos who enjoy watching that might have enjoyed watching this fight here. This fight was diabolically poor. What I will say though is people's perception of how exciting a fight is or isn't is often colored by the popularity of the fighters and the significance of the fight. If Lara and Garcia were both cash cow superstar fighters and this was some undisputed unification on pay-per-view with both guys getting paid 8 figures or whatever, then the crowd and the audience at home would probably have been a lot more patient, especially, let's say, if one of the fighters was regarded as a really dangerous puncher and he was the favorite and the other guy was sticking and moving and it was a boring fight on any other night, right? But because of what was at stake, the crowd were engrossed by it, you know? So context matters a lot in boxing as far as how a fight is received by the public. When people are really emotionally invested in the result of a fight, it don't seem so boring to them, at least not when their guy's winning, even if he's winning in soporific fashion. Anyway, you had Lara, the naturally bigger, older, rangier fighter, who's been a lot more active than Danny Garcia in recent years, it has to be said, going up against aka Swift, jumping up 2 weight classes to challenge for the middleweight title. God only knows how this guy got a ranking high enough to make him eligible for a title shot. The last notable win that Danny Garcia had was 8 years ago against Robert Guerrero at welterweight. But you know, these sanctioning bodies, in this case the WBA, are always up to shenanigans. So both fighters come out cautious, circumspect, but Lara, having the longer arms, realizes he can actually apply a little bit of pressure while still remaining safe. And by pressure, I don't mean a lot of punches, but, you know, coming forward slightly, landing a few jabs here and there. The pace was incredibly slow. I mean, you'd expect that with veteran fighters like this. Lara is, I think, 41. He's currently the oldest world champion in boxing. Danny Garcia's in his mid to late 30s. And so that was the story of the fight. Nothing going on. Feinting, posturing, gesturing. At 1 or 2 points, maybe around the 7th or 8th, Danny Garcia tried to come forward and throw a few punches, but truth be told, Garcia's never been a particularly effective pressure fighter. His natural inclination is to counter, to plant his feet, let you come to him, and then he's going to catch you. His back foot game moving around the ring is okay, Danny Garcia. He beat Lucas Matisse back in the days with that, but that was never going to work here against Erislandy Lara, who's a much slicker fighter than Danny Garcia's ever been. Anyway, we get to the 9th round. Towards the end of it, Lara hits Danny Garcia with a couple of fairly innocuous looking shots, but Garcia sinks to the canvas. One knee touches the deck, and he has a concerned look on his face. As soon as he goes back to his corner, his father and trainer, Angel Garcia, tells the referee that he wants to stop the fight. The referee comes over and he asks Danny Garcia, "Are you done?" This happens in a lot of states in America, and a lot of boxing commissions around the world have this requirement. Officially, the corner can't actually stop it. The fighter has to consent to it being stopped. And Danny Garcia uttered the words, "Yeah, I'm done," meaning he quit in the fight. So Danny Garcia quits after 9 rounds against Erislandy Lara. Been very inactive over the past few years. As I say, last significant win was 8 years ago against Robert Guerrero. Where's he really going now? The fact that his dad wanted the fight stopped is significant because this is the first time that Danny Garcia, as far as I can remember, has ever been down. His dad knows him better than anyone, and he obviously didn't like what he saw, because in most cases you'd look at a fight like that and think, well, why did they stop it? But his dad knows him, really knows him. He obviously thought something was off, so he encouraged his son basically to quit in the fight. And I'm not mad at him. Even Evander Holyfield quit late on in his career against Sherman Williams. And I've made a video about this previously, but it's still a bugbear of mine. And it seems to be a uniquely British thing. I'm not saying all British people are like this, but there's a section of the British public that don't seem to understand the definition of the word quit. They seem to be under the false impression that to quit means to give up when there's nothing wrong with you, when you don't have an injury. No. Quit simply means to give up, irrespective of whether you're injured or there's anything wrong with you. And I say this pertaining to Daniel Dubois, for example. You still get a bunch of people like Spencer Oliver the other day trying to argue that Daniel Dubois never quit against Joe Joyce. Yes, he did, Spencer. Spencer Oliver saying, no. He had a fractured eye socket. So he gave up. Was he physically capable of continuing? Yes. How do I know this? Well, because many other fighters with a fractured eye socket have continued. Didn't have a busted leg that meant he couldn't actually physically stand? No. He could stand, he could still throw punches, he could have continued. He made a decision not to. That's called quitting. I'm not judging him for it. I'm not saying if I was in his position, I would have fought on because I'm tougher than Daniel Dubois. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just being descriptive, being literal. And what literally happened was Daniel Dubois quit. Okay? Maybe he was sensible to quit. Maybe it was the right decision for his career, but it is what it is. He quit. And Danny Garcia quit here against Erislandy Lara. Now, the fact that his dad wanted to pull the plug on the fight might suggest that his dad has maybe lost faith in him, because Danny Garcia has been in some tough fights before. I mean, the Errol Spence fight was real tough, and his dad never pulled the plug there. Yeah, he never went down against Errol Spence. But maybe that's the thing that spooked his dad. The fact he's never seen his son touch the canvas before, at least not in a pro fight. So maybe that prompted him to say, you know what, nah, I need to pull him out of this, or encourage him to quit. Will he encourage him to retire? We shall see, but you struggle to see where Danny Garcia can really go from here. If he wants to continue, I think his best bet will be, if he can, if it's safe for him, to go back down to welterweight, because even though this fight was at middleweight, Garcia physically, in terms of his physique, he didn't really look much different to how he looks at welterweight, because obviously welterweights, many of them at least, on fight night, they weigh 160, sometimes more than that. And so it seemed like that with Danny Garcia. He didn't look much bigger in the ring than he looks for his welterweight fights. So if it's possible for him to get back down to welterweight safely and healthily, I reckon that's probably his best bet. Not to fight Boots, unless he just wants a payday, although we don't know what's going on with Boots. He might move up to 154. But the reason I say that might be his best bet going back down to 147 is because the division ain't that strong. If you take Boots out of the equation, there's not really much there. You can obviously say the same for 160, where he just fought and lost, but the guys are so much bigger than he's used to. So if he wants to continue, I'd say if he can go back down to 147, go there. I don't think 154 is a good idea for him. And oh yeah, it'd be remiss of me not to talk about Lara. You know, boxing's oldest current world champion. It's a bit of an Indian summer for him, but who's he actually fighting? His opposition as middleweight champion so far, and ever since he moved up to 160, his opposition has been pretty horrendous. Danny Garcia is the best name that he's fought at 160, but he's just a name. His division really was 140. That's where Danny Garcia did his best work, 140. So you can't really give Lara much credit for beating Danny Garcia. And as I say, the other opponents that Lara's been beating lately, you know, very poor. And Lara was very happy with his performance, by the way. I should expect him to be. Like so many Cubans in the past, he's got absolutely no issue with winning fights. I was going to say ugly, but probably not the right word. Boring, playing it safe, winning a chess match. That's the kind of fight that Erislandy Lara loves. Don't know what he got paid against Danny Garcia. Few $100,000 maybe. Easy money, innit? Not bad for such a comfortable night's work. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Do you want to see Lara unify with the other champions? Or is that too horrifying to even imagine? Let me know in the comment section.